Hey there, and welcome to Know to Grow. I'm Lauren Wood, your host, and today we are going to be talking with Amanda Bennett. She is the OSU Extension Educator in Miami County, one of several, and we are so happy to have you with us again, Amanda.
Thanks for having me back, Lauren.
I know you guys have had a busy few weeks up in Miami County. One of the things you actually sent me an email about, and we were able to get our news team up to, was the Miami County Junior Farmers Market. And we had a great time talking to a bunch of the kids that were there. It was fourth graders, is that right, at Piqua Intermediate?
It was fourth graders, yes.
Okay, I've got some video of it. Tell us a little bit about that program and just kind of why it's so important.
That program was kind of born out of this kind of identified need that, a lot of kids aren't exposed to a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, or a limited number of fruits and vegetables. And we also kind of wanted to marry that with exposing them to farmers, with people who are locally growing the produce here in Miami County and just the surrounding areas, and making awareness that there are people that are growing these right here, and it's part of the local economy, and they can kind of participate by, going to farmers markets and eating local produce and increasing their intake of fresh fruits and vegetables.
What are some of those interactions like? Did you get to hear any of the conversations between the farmers and the students?
Yeah, they, have questions about how things grow, or usually about how things are prepared. We know from research that a lot of kids are far removed from somebody in the home that is making fresh meals. So we've got a couple different programs, this being one of them, that kind of connect those youth with either their food, where it comes from, the people that grow it. It's kind of like a bigger picture that we want to expose kids to.
And what are some of the results that you hear about after the kids are exposed to it for the first time?
Yeah, they just are so excited. They're like, can we eat it? Is this washed? Does it matter? Usually I'm like, please ask your teacher, because I don't want to be responsible for this. But they're just, especially at Piqua actually this year, there were just so many that were just gnawing on, apples and cucumbers and carrots and potatoes even, actually. Just kind of experiencing those things. And we also do a garden at Piqua, which are the fifth graders are actually. So it's kind of an introductory to that as well. And they're just so interested in all of that.
I know I heard the assistant principal talk about the fact that when they have their hands on the process of growing the food, they eat things that they otherwise wouldn't. Is that something you guys see as kind of universal? Getting the kids involved in the process changes their diet?
Absolutely. When kids can make choices and they get to exercise that ability, they really just kind of own it. We also see that with another program we have, junior chefs, that if they're involved in the making of the meal, they're more likely to taste it.
And is that something that anybody can get involved with, the junior chefs program? How does that work?
That's in the summertime. It's a camp that we offer during the summer. It's a 2 or 3 day workshop, and it does fill up. So we do about 200 kids.
Oh, wow.
And that information will be out in March about that.
Okay. What are some of the things that they do there? They just are learning how to cook? Is that the premise?
Yes, it's a thematic. So last year was about being on the go. So we did stuff, that you might find. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the themes. We've done on the go. We've done countries, different food from different countries. Cooking with a book, kind of thematic from different children's books. So we've been doing that program since 2018, I think.
Yeah. It's something I've noticed with my own kids. They will be super picky unless it is something that they have grown. We have a huge garden. So anything that they have had a hand in growing, they absolutely want to try. And I can go to the grocery store and buy the same thing, and they won't, are not even interested. Yeah. But when they know that they're the one who has grown it and watered it and weeded it and picked it and washed it, then they are suddenly more into eating it. And then even the stuff, like we do most of our bread, we make ourselves. And we've really got into freshly milling our grains recently. And I did not think that was going to go over well with the kids at all, especially my 7-year-old. But because she's been involved in the process, she thinks it is the most amazing thing in the world. I remember being a kid and my mom just buying like whole wheat bread, and I thought it was terrible. And so we're like milling the grains, and she believes it is the best bread in the entire world. She was so excited. Her friend at school who brought her a cookie one day for lunch, she wanted not to bring her a cookie. She wanted to bring her a piece of this whole wheat bread. And she was so excited. And her friend was not as excited as she was. But she's like, I think she'll get used to it. She just needs to have some more of it. But I really do think that it is just having those hands on when she's the one making it, then it all of a sudden tastes better. So
It is, yeah. Being involved in the process.
well, that is a great thing. We'll definitely circle back on next summer to talk about. I'd love to hear more on that. As far as things that are happening this time of year, fall composting is a really big topic right now. What do we need to know if it's something that we're just getting into for the first time, or maybe something even people have done it for a while don't realize?
Yeah, composting is just a way to turn your kind of scraps into something beautiful and usable. And fall composting is not really different than any other time of the year, except for maybe just our inputs that we might have into it. So, we want to get this product that ends up looking like black soil, like black gold, you might hear it called. It really using compost. Think of it like a fertilizer. You're putting things like leaves. You're putting sticks, twigs. All kinds of vegetable and fruit scraps, things from your kitchen that you would normally send to the landfill, like consider putting it into a compost pile or a bin or something. And really almost anything can go in a compost pile. Unless you're an expert, you don't really want to put any like bones or meat or fatty things with oils in them and those sorts of things, because it can attract some unwanted guests at your house. But yeah, so did you ask about things that we shouldn't put in there?
I would love to hear everything. I honestly know very, very little about composting. That is something that I've watched some YouTube videos on, but we have not dipped our toes into it all. So I would love just composting 101, because it is something that I know is so important, especially with soil remediation, and just such a great way to naturally and cheaply boost your garden. So
Yeah.
where do you start? I mean, if you are like me and you have never done this, I mean, can I literally just throw it in a pile? Like, what do I need to do?
Yeah, the simplest thing is called a heap. Just throw it in a pile. I mean, I grew up on a farm, so we always had a field to throw it in. That's what we would do. But when I moved to my smaller house and didn't have that, I needed a place to put these things because I didn't know any different. So we ended up buying a bin, and you can buy that. You can get one that rotates. It's kind of because the idea is that you're cooking this basically. You're getting it hot. You're breaking things down, and it is decomposing more rapidly so that you can use it as a fertilizer or a soil amendment. So start with the pile. In an area that it's not going to kind of attract things. You can consider putting like some snow fence around it, or like a wire mesh around it in kind of a circle, or kind of a square, with three sides. And then if it's in a heap, you need to turn it often.
Okay.
And a lot of people that do the heap method, they have three piles. One that's like kind of fresh, one that's cooking, and one that's like nearly done. So the idea is you really just need to turn it. It's most active really when it's warmer. So it's going to start to slow down now, and it's going to just kind of sit there. But we bought one of these kind of drum sort of a thing during COVID. So it was like 25 years ago. I don't think we've emptied it but once, and we throw our stuff in there on a daily basis. It breaks down. It's black on the outside, so it kind of captures a lot of the warmth and things. But this relies on soil microbes. It relies on beneficial microorganisms that break this material down. It relies on earthworms and beetles and larvae and stuff that it gets in there, eats the stuff, turns it into the good stuff that we want to put on our garden or our flower beds or wherever it is we need some fertilizer.
So with the drum, do you have to add those things, those microbes and earthworms and things? Do you need to buy those and put them in, or they just will find their way there?
The larvae just find their way there.
Amazing.
Yeah. If ours is not in contact with the ground, So it's going to be a little bit different if it's in contact with the ground, but it still works. You can put nearly anything into it. The most important thing to keep in mind is a carbon to nitrogen ratio. You need about 30 to 1, 30 carbon to 1 nitrogen. So things like wood waste have a lot of carbon in them. So, twigs, newspaper, leaves have a lot of carbon in them. So you might need to add fertilizer. You can actually add nitrogen fertilizer to your compost pile.
Okay.
And it needs to be kind of moist. It should be kind of not like to where it's dripping if you were to touch it and like kind of squeeze it, but like a little bit of moisture to it.
Okay.
So for that reason, sometimes I water mine. I put water in it when it is looking too dry. If it's been, especially this winter or this summer when it's been so hot. So you can do that. Also kind of like if I'll have something big like a watermelon rind, I'll kind of cut it up into several pieces. That way you kind of increase the surface area. It's smaller so that these things can kind of really gnaw on it and chew it down a little bit faster. So versus like really big things. And then also when you're putting in your heap, you can kind of layer it. So a layer of like twigs and leaves, and then a layer of something like grass clippings or something that has a little bit more nitrogen in it. So this time of year, it might be stuff from your garden. It might be dead tomato plants. We just had a light frost last night. It might be some flowers that are now like looking bad. Put those on there. They're a nitrogen source. Put them on there. Okay. And then just kind of keep layering it as you're building it.
And then your carbon is coming from where?
Yeah, if you're putting in anything kind of woody, any twigs, any leaves, any newspaper. You can put up shredded newspaper in it as well.
Okay.
If any mulch finds its way in there, those sorts of things would be a little bit higher carbon.
Okay.
Straw, stuff like that.
All right. And then, so you talk about the drum kind. You had mentioned with the piles, with the compost heaps, that a lot of people have 3. So if you have the drum, you're able to still get some out even as you're adding fresh new in, or you need to wait until it cooks before you're able to get it out? How does that work, the timing of that work?
Yeah, you do need to wait until it kind of cooks down before you're able to actually use it. So it could be a year or so, depending upon how many scraps you have. We did get a second bin for that reason. We kind of fill one and then like let one cook.
Gotcha.
And they weren't that expensive, about $80, and it's all kind of compact. But they have little doors on them, so you can get out of the bottom, or such, as it kind of cooks down. Because they do make some that are just black plastic that sit on the ground, and then they have a door at the bottom, and then you feed it on the top. That's the kind we used to have. But that one's kind of hard to turn, so you just kind of have to wait. You speed up the process if you turn it, basically.
Okay. And you really don't have to worry about smell because it's all kind of taking care of itself?
It does not smell. It's so crazy. Even in the dead of summer, the heat of summer, it doesn't smell. Like but I'm not putting anything that kind of came from like an animal source, like a cheese or a meat or a bones. I'm not putting any of that in there. I don't put salad dressing in there, oils and those sorts of things. Because you really do kind of have to be an expert and really on top of it if you're going to compost those things to suppress that sort of thing.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no smells. It's weird. I mean, I don't put my nose right in it, but I mean,
not what you would expect for garbage, right?
Right.
So,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned putting leaves in the compost. I know another thing that you can do with leaves this time of year is kind of have them ready for mulch for the garden next year. Can we talk about that a little bit and what you want your setup to look like if you're going to be saving those for the garden?
Yeah, if you're doing just strictly leaves, you can compost them much in the same way. I mean, it can even be just a small little heap. Most people gather them after maybe they've been kind of chopped or do some sort of chopping process after they've been gathered. It might be a little unpopular, but I really think that leaving leaves as much as possible on your lawn and lawn clippings. Like we don't bag lawn clippings. That really provides a whole lot of fertilizer back to your lawn. Of course, if you leave leaves, kind of on your lawn, they have to be chopped up. And so you don't want to kill your grass. So areas that are really thick, you could kind of consider moving them. And just kind of, it's as simple as really just kind of putting them in a pile. where they have access to those microorganisms, those earthworms, those other beetles and larvae that can kind of eat them down and turn them into something really nice.
All right. Well, we are going to take a break and come right back. We're going to be talking about dividing perennials and planting spring bulbs here in just a moment. So stay with us. Lauren Wood here, and we are back with Know to Grow. Today, we are speaking with Amanda Bennett, an OSU Extension educator in Miami County, and we just talked about composting, which is something that I am totally new on. Really enjoyed learning about that. It's something we're definitely going to start trying out here, hopefully as we head toward next planting season. But we are going to move on now to discussing the dividing of perennials. And this is also something that I've not done much with. My mother-in-law is the expert on this. She has all kinds of gorgeous bulbs, and I've never been able to figure out the rhythm or the timing or how she does it. So I'm excited to hear from you on exactly what we should be doing and when. It's not too late to do that, right?
No, it's not too late to do it. We need to do it in the next couple of weeks, but It's not too late. Really, so I get the question sometimes is, why do we need to do this? Mm-hmm. And really, we're trying to control the size of the plants. Perennials, they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. Then we start to kind of see their health decline. Maybe they've got some bare spots in the middle. Maybe the foliage on the kind of like the outer parts are not, as vibrant as they once were. So we want to kind of rejuvenate them. Mm-hmm. Or we also just want to like free plants. And so we want to divide them and, get free plants essentially. So what we want to do is we want to look at those plants that need divided. We want to do it when they're not in bloom. So for a lot of plants, that's going to be around this time, about mid-September to about end of October timeframe. It would be ideal to water them a few days before just to kind of loosen it up a little bit and make them really, really kind of vibrant. And there's a couple different root types that we're looking at. One of them is something with like a spreading root, like a grass or a tick seed. And those are just as simple as pulling them apart by hand or cutting them with a sharp knife, just taking a spade and just kind of dividing it literally in half. You need about 3 to 5 shoots to kind of be, really to really give them a good chance in the ground. But those are really easy to divide. So if you're having like a ornamental grass or something like that, you literally can just kind of chunk it up.
Okay.
Clumping roots, so like a clump root, like a hosta or a daylily or something, you kind of very similar. It has a crown on it, so it has like a growing point on it in the center. And then you're going to take a spade, take a knife, and just kind of go through it. They kind of end up having these like little clumps that have eyes on them. You want quite a few of them. You could go down to a single eye, but then it's probably not going to flower the next year.
Okay.
And it is undergoing some sort of trauma, so there's going to be a little recovery period. There's going to be a little bit of ugliness to it for a little bit, but you'd be surprised a couple months in the growing season come spring, and you're not even going to be able to tell that it was divided. And then the last kind that we tend to divide would be something with a rhizome, which is like a bearded iris.
Okay.
They grow kind of horizontal, and these might be the ones where you kind of see their roots kind of popping up a few inches out of the soil. And really, you take a few inches of that rhizome off, and it needs a fan of leaves. So if you picture an iris leaves, they kind of like a little bit like a fan, and you trim them down to about 1/2 of their original size, and then you just plant it with a little bit of the rhizome peeking out on top of the soil. So we really need to do this every 1 to 3 years for things like heuchras, or sometimes they're called corabels, spiderwort, Shasta daisy, tick seed. Those are kind of some popular ones. Every year they can be done, or up to 3. Then looking at kind of black-eyed Susans or coneflowers or catmint or daylilies, they're about every 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Would be a good practice. And then something like a hosta, maybe every 5 to 10 years. But making sure they're provided adequate water afterwards, and they're really quite simple. There's very, you think you're going to damage it, but you're really You're really probably not.
Okay.
Just kind of dividing them with a spade is really easy. They also make like soil knives that are really easy to kind of cut through some of those things. As long as they have kind of a growing part to them, some roots to them, you're pretty much good to go. There's a whole list of perennials, but those are kind of just some standouts.
How long do you have to get them back in the ground? Are we wanting to do it immediately? Can they sit out for a little while? What's the time frame?
Ideally would be immediately.
Okay.
You would have the hole already dug. At this time of year, they might benefit from a fertilizer that has some phosphorus in it because that really helps with root development. You don't want something with high nitrogen. That's that first number of a fertilizer bag. You want the middle number to have a value there for phosphorus. And that's just going to stimulate some root movement, root growth. So we want that, pretty much, right away, a couple hours, a day, but you're going to probably want to wrap it in some, maybe some moist newspaper or something like that and kind of keep it protected, maybe in a garage or something. So ideally, day of, but
Okay.
they can withstand a little bit of time.
Now, if you're ordering bulbs, it's also the time to get those in the ground right now. You said we've got maybe a couple weeks left to do that. Which bulbs are we talking about that we want to focus on this time of year, and what do we need to know?
Yeah, the type of bulbs that we would be wanting to focus on this time of year would be our hardy bulbs. Those would be like our tulips, our daffodils, our iris, that kind of would fall into that category. Crocus and lilies, they can be planted in the fall, but really we think a lot about more daffodils, tulips, hyacinths, crocus, grape hyacinths as well. We want to get those. We want to get those from a reputable supplier. We want to inspect them to make sure they're not bruised and cut or soft or smelly or, they want to be firm and they want to have a protective skin around them.
Okay.
Then we're going to plant them, starting mid-September to that kind of late October time frame. We want to get them into the ground before the ground freezes. Tulips actually could be planted a little bit later. Just basically, they'll be okay, and just as late as you're able to get them in the ground, as long as you can actually get them in the ground, they should be okay.
Okay. And we'll see those flowers in the spring, or does it take a whole year before you'll get to see them?
You should see them in the spring. They will pop up. They'll be just so happy. I'm just so happy when I see those flowers after that long winter's
We
nap.
made it. We survived.
I'm just like, I see flowers,
Yes.
the daffodils, the tulips. It just tells me, spring is here and summer's on its way, which is my favorite time of year anyway. But
All right. And what is our kind of deadline? We want to get these in before when?
definitely before the ground freezes.
Okay.
But ideally they need some time to acclimate and to grow some roots to kind of hold on throughout the winter. So, late October, we're kind of getting to where we probably want to be wrapping that up. And, honestly, bulb suppliers, they run out. And so they won't be, if you're ordering them online or something like that, they probably wouldn't be available. When you're planting them, they need to be 2 to 3 times deeper than the actual bulb itself.
Okay.
So if you have sandy soils, maybe a little more deep, heavy clay soils might be a little bit shallower. And, cover them, protect them from chipmunks and squirrels because they're going to be super interested in what you just dug. They're going to think it's something that is really tasty. So you can cover it with the chicken wire and with some of those like landscape staples to kind of keep it down. And think about kind of planting them in masses or big groups. They make more of a splash rather than there is this one single,
Right.
tulip out in your landscape. Plant them like that.
And then look forward to spring. All right. OSU Extension Educator for Miami County, Amanda Bennett. We thank you so much for being with us again today. And we look forward to talking with you again in the future.
Thanks, Lauren.